Now we're going to get into where to hunt. We've already figured out all of our equipment and we have everything dialed for that. So now we got to find places to hunt. When I'm driving around, I'm constantly looking for places that I want to go hunt at. I highly recommend using Onyx or some other app that allows you to see, who owns the property and the property lines and how much coverage they have and things of that nature. Because I'll be driving around and I'll just be looking out the window. I'm like, man, it looks like a good spot that holds coyotes. I'll drop a point, and then I know once I look at all my map, I know kind of where I need to go when I need to start asking. So if I find a really good spot, I'll drop a point, and then I potentially would be like, okay, I can get access on here. If they give me permission, I can hunt from this side. But now I want to potentially have multiple access points around that one area to allow for different winds and different situations, or just calling from different areas. You don't want to be calling from the same spot every time. So then I can really dial in an area about by just doing that. So that's how I kind of drive around. It's a good spot, drop a pin, and then I go start asking. Additionally, you want to try and get a couple places to hunt in the same area. If I'm driving around, 30 minutes to this set, and I drive 45 minutes to this set, and then 25 minutes to this set, it's a lot of driving and a little bit of hunting, especially if you kill like in the first couple minutes, which is the entire point. But now, I spent more time driving than I did hunting. Also, having multiple areas close is very, very beneficial when you start having coyotes that are sounding off or may not be on your actual permitted property. So for example, I'll try and find like 5 to 6 properties in and around the same area. That way, if I let out a howl and they cut loose over here, I'll just I give it like 5 minutes to scan and make sure nothing close is just coming in. I'll get my truck and I'll drive over there and I'll set up on them. You got to go to where the coyotes are to kill them. So that's what we're doing now is we're finding out where they're at, and we're going to go there to make a play on them. So it happened the other nights where we cut off and some started howling behind us, gave it a couple minutes to make sure nothing came in, drove over there and called in a pack of 4 and ended up killing 3. So that's how I kind of go about getting my permissions. I like to get a bunch kind of in the same area. What I look for is woodlots. I look for areas that hold coyotes, good cover, pretty decently sized woodlots, 10, 15, 20, 40, 50 acres, and have some sort of water or elevation or something that's going to hold those coyotes in there. I have over 100 spots, and I can definitely tell which ones are prone to holding coyotes because year after year, set after set, there's always coyotes in there. Even if I take coyotes off that property, it's such a good spot that more are going to move back in and they're going to occupy that space. So having good areas to hunt is kind of determined by, cover and food and water for the coyote. So look at all those areas, and that's kind of what I'm keying in on when I'm driving around, and I'll say that's probably a good spot. And then that's, what I'm looking for to get permission from. The next thing to that is going to be travel routes. Like I said, I have a bunch of spots, but I know which ones are, predominantly going to hold coyotes and which ones are travel routes. Those travel routes potentially could be going down a really good indicators like rivers, field edges, big crop field edges, to where they're using those travel routes to and from different woodlots or different areas, and you can key in on those areas as well. Now, those are a little bit more volatile because you could go there tonight and have 5 coyotes crossing and be in them, and then you could hunt there 7 more times and not even call a single coyote in. It's a travel route. They're not as prone to being in those areas more often. So that is when I was talking about in the equipment list of having a helmet mounted option. If I want to sit there and cover a travel route, I may pull up a chair and a tripod and helmet mounted scanners and just sit there and scan for 2 hours. They're going to cross there eventually. So that's a different style of hunting, but I've really kind of analyzed the sets that I have, and which I thought was a good spot because I killed coyotes on, it turns out to be not as good because it's predominantly a travel route. So first priority is finding good woodlots. Next would be travel routes, and then roadways. Roadways are a great indicator of where coyotes are moving and around at. Drive down the interstate or drive down a state road, man, you'll see dead coyotes hit on the road all the time. And there's plenty of times where I'm like, man, there's always coyotes hit at this section of the interstate. From there, I'll look left and right and find out, because they're traveling across the interstate. Obviously, they're not living on the interstate. I'll look at the areas in and around that where they're predominantly hit on the road at, and find those woodlots or those other areas to hunt around that area. So look at your roadways, and it's or you're driving down the road and I always see coyotes in this field, or I always see them crossing, and it's a very good indicator of where coyotes may be. Then I'll drop those pins and hone in on those areas around that. And then open areas. When I was talking about choosing your thermal equipment, your openness and how tight of cover it is going to kind of influence that. I like to hunt areas that are a little bit predominantly more open and also somewhat flat for two reasons. One, it is easy for me. Once I start seeing coyotes, I can get on them. I got a little bit more time. They're not just going to be popping up 80 yards away, and I have to make a quick decision and a quick shot. I can usually see them come out into the open and get set up for them and get ready. And also, it's just far easier scanning. If I have a huge hill 100 yards in front of me and I have to go up and down, up and down, up and down, scanning to see if anything's coming down that hill or cutting across, that's a lot of work. More flat fields, like crop fields, are really good for it. It's where I can just scan that horizon very quickly on one plane. I can cover that area very well. So open areas versus tight quarters. But also that's going to be influenced by your optics. If I have a base magnification of like 1.5, 1.75 or 2, I'm going to try and find something that is still pretty open, but I want to be able to coverage. Like, say I find a field and I drop a pin, I want my max shot to be 200 yards because I can't really see past that. I can't really make good shots past that. And I want to be able to see coyotes, get on them and shoot them. So my optic is going to decide what field I choose and what area I choose to hunt. Also, why that's important is because beginning of the year and less pressured coyotes are more prone to coming in. You have a lot of pups. You have coyotes that ain't been called to, especially if you call 3 or 4 in and you shoot 2 or 3 of their buddies. They're not educated. So the ability to get them in close through these open fields is high. But once you start getting hunting pressure, once you start getting late in the season, man, I can't tell you how many coyotes I've seen come out to the edge of a wood line and either just sit and stop, or they come out and they check it out and they go back, or they just hang up and they kind of run that wood line because they know they don't want to be out in that open area. If that is 400 yards away, I can't make a good shot. Okay, so, depending on my optics, I may elect to be 200 yards away from that. That way, if they come out and they want to hang up on that, they're still within range and you can make a shot on them. So choosing open areas, that's kind of, indicator, that's the factors that play into that. But first thing you want to have is you got to have coyotes to kill coyotes. So finding areas that are like their coyote sanctuary, good cover, food, water is primary. Try and find some travel routes to and from different woodlots or different sanctuaries. Roadways, use roadways to indicate where I'm constantly seeing coyotes or seeing coyotes hit on the road. And then the area I choose in here is how open my area is. It's going to be dictated by my optics choice.